Welcome back to Final Fantasy XIV and the first part of the Asphodelos raid, or the Pandemonium raid in total. XIV, I must! This appears to be one of the warders we seek, but I'm afraid he's in no state to answer questions. Perhaps you can bring him to his senses? And where are my teammates? My clones. Warder of the Condemned, Erectonius. Flail is half circle. I see nothing. To the left of us. He assailed by ice and flame. You leave me no choice. I cannot allow you to run free. Okay, so red. Keep off red. I will lock you away once and for all. So, combination. Flail and fire. No, the lives of my colleagues are at stake. Take it. Good, Themis. That was a thrilling display. If I may be so wanting, the warriors I spun from your aether fought even more splendidly than I had anticipated. I suppose we were cut from excellent cloth after all. We should wait until this man regains his senses. He wears the robe of a warder, and I would be very curious to know what drove him to attack us sight unseen. Desiree, he stirs. What came over me? It's coming back to me. My mind was filled with a storm of desperation, anger. I leapt at you, though I knew naught of your intentions. Pray accept my apologies and my thanks. Had you not knocked some sense into me, I may have fallen upon someone less capable of defending themselves. You're welcome. I'm Erectonios, a ward of Asphodelos, Pandemonium's highest layer in the place we are now. One must wonder why you were so desperate to keep us out. What is happening in Pandemonium? The creations interred within Asphodelos have been set free and stalk its halls to no end but violence. That's not good, to say the least. Has this ever happened before? No, never. Each level of Pandemonium is in the charge of a key ward who keeps strict control over the most minute aspects of their domain. They're selected with great care and their loyalty to Master La Brea is absolute. Yet something has gone terribly wrong. Try as we might to hold the line, the chaos within is overwhelming. I hardly realized that I had become separated from my colleagues. I remember a chorus of whispers assailing my senses, and afterwards only flashes of rage and fury. Then blackness from which I awoke to find that whatever had overcome me was gone. I see. Your senses may have been muddled by magics that affect the mind. Perhaps the self-same ones that saw you separated from the other warders. Whatever had taken hold of me, thank you for releasing me from its clutches. That you've come here from the surface must mean some word of our plight has reached the outside world. If you know anything that may help, pray tell. Horror among horrors. So Pandemonium's protections are indeed being dismantled from within. By the same individual, or individuals that released its captives and set them upon you, no doubt. Such knowledge avails us little, however, if we cannot ascertain their identity. Themis, was it? You said you worked for an organization under the auspices of a convocation. Were they to receive word of what has transpired here? What measures would they take? Doubtless they would consider this place to be a lost cause. Pandemonium's ties to the outside world would be severed, or perhaps it would be wiped from existence entirely. As I thought. Were creatures to escape into the outside world, there would be untold carnage. The words of Lara Breyer would never risk that, despite what value the research subjects may hold. All the more reason to work with haste. If we can't expect further help, then it falls upon me to save the others. I'll not leave them behind. You would go alone? I won't leave the other warders to face certain doom. I know they fight for survival even now. They wouldn't abandon their duty. They would see the creatures return to their cells at all costs. And so I must do the same. Famous, I know the request I'm about to make of you is a monumental one, but please, say not a word of this to the convocation until I've been given a chance to set things right. Forgive my rudeness, Erectonius, but my decision cannot be swayed by emotion. You would only be consigning yourself to an early death. Strength of resolve alone cannot win in the face of overwhelming odds. That being said, our investigation has only just begun, and we would be remiss to turn back ere we've made an exhaustive survey. So for the time being, there's slightly more than resolve to rely upon. You got me. I knew you would be all too eager to join us. Each moment since you fell from the skies has been more interesting than the last. More and more you remind me of my dear friend. Which goes some way toward encouraging me that this matter will yet reach a satisfactory conclusion. So you agree to help me? For the moment, our goals align. The protective magics of Pandemonium yet hold, so for the moment, time is in our favor. Let us proceed upon the course you and Desiree have set us upon. Themis and Desiree, yes? Thank you. The warders owe you a great debt already. We shall be glad to have someone familiar with Pandemonium's halls by our side. A party of three is ever so much more entertaining than a pair of two. Now let us turn our attention to rescuing your colleagues. Perhaps it would be wise to approach the gates, in case any have followed you out. Stupid level 9 materia. It seems our investigation will be quite the ordeal after all. Still, I find it hard to believe that La Habrea knows naught of what transpired here. Whoever the mastermind of this crisis is, they do not lack for power and cunning. But the sound can be heard from within, which means neither creature nor warders made it this far. We should begin forming a plan to save them at once. Forgive me if I misunderstand, but do you mean to rescue warders and creations both? Naturally. Although they may be dangerous, they are valuable research subjects. I wouldn't see our labor, our untold hours of study go to waste. I dare say La Habrea would smile to hear you say such a thing. That is, if we had cause to report this incident to him. Smile? I'm not sure his face is capable of such warmth. Ah, so you've met him before? I was under the impression you rarely visited Pandemonium. I have, yes. My mentor was the previous head of a facility, and best to say, La Brea's predecessor, in a position of key ward. Her name was Athena, and she was a researcher with the words. It was she who appointed me to this position, in fact. I see. I did not know there was a chief keyword before La Brea. Your motivation to save your research subjects is not entirely driven by duty to the word, then. You wish also to preserve the work of your mentor? You're right of it. I'm lacking in ideas of how to go about that, however. I'm a mere warder and cannot wield interment magic. But of course, I can hardly expect you to be versed in the magics we use here. If you recall, during our battle earlier, I bound you in nefarious shackles. Interment is a more refined and powerful magic based upon the same principles. While both are used to keep our subjects docile, only the keyword of each tier is permitted to use interment. Even if I were allowed, I lack the aptitude to use the spell to any notable effect. Fascinating. I have some knowledge of these forms of spellcraft, actually. Labre himself established the foundation, if I recall. While shackles are meant to bind an object in place for a short time, interment freezes the very space around it for as long as the caster wills. Indeed, while the illusory beings you summoned in our fight suggested as much, I see your knowledge of magic is vast. Perhaps you've already mastered the art of interment, and I've been lecturing you like a child all this time? I'm afraid my knowledge ends there. I have not a precise understanding of how the invocation interacts with natural laws that would be needed to cast such spells with any consistency. While I consider myself well versed in various magics, I would be ill-advised to assume the duties of keyword without instruction. That being said, if I went to learn more of interment and its inner workings, perhaps... Well, you have a warder standing in front of you. Well, the solution is obvious when you put it like that. Erictonius, you implied that what prevented you from performing interment was lack of magical capacity. What if I supplemented your power with my own? Would the spell succeed then? I can't say for certain. I've never heard of such a thing being done. I believe it may be our best recourse. That is, of course, assuming you can perform the initial rites and incantations flawlessly. Even the smallest misstep, and we would have to start over. You needn't worry about that. I've seen the spells cast so many times that their motion has been burned into my memory. I won't disappoint. Very well, let us work out the specifics afterwards. Once we do, we can test out our methods on one of the escaped creatures. But I suppose there's a matter of finding one. It would be foolish to rush in blindly, lest we find ourselves surrounded with naught but an untested stratagem at our disposal. Nay, I would prefer to engage a single creature that Desiree could dispatch on her own if a spell were to go awry. I agree, and I may have an idea in that regard. I recall seeing the hippocampus wandering the waterways during my flight. Perhaps it's still there? Few of the subject housed within us for Delos are fond of water, and I believe we'll be able to engage the beast without fear of unwanted guests. Then that shall be our first target, or perhaps subject is a better term. Before we commence with the interment magic, the creature should be weakened to a sufficient degree. I believe I can trust you with a task. As dependable as ever. Once you've given it a thorough trouncing, we shall bind this hippocampus with a keyword's magic. Until then, my illusions shall fight by your side. The hippocampus will be alone, but it's a daunting opponent nonetheless. Its magic warps the environment around it, and will be at home amidst the waterways. Steel yourself for a fight. The second circle is now accessible. I take it we are each ready to fulfill our respective roles. Truth be told, this will be the first time I've practiced magic that requires such a degree of cooperation between parties. How thrilling! Athena ever drove home the fact that our subjects should be treated with the utmost care. It would be best if we could see them confined once again, rather than disposed of like beasts gone feral. That's the hippocampus? Mythic creation, the hippocampus. Okay, how was it? I think, yeah. The red is a white zone and the yellow is just a line. Stay on the high ground. We do well to flee to higher ground, lest the creature drown us in its rage. Yeah, in the flood waters. Predatory side means cuddling with someone. E. That act separately. So get out of its way, Archer. Bart, I mean. Grab, grab. Ah! Ooh. That was a trial by fire, or water, I suppose. But I had faith we would see it through, so long as we had your stout arm, of course. I knew you were no mere mercenary, but to make so clean work of a hippocampus, seasoned fighters scarcely had occasion to visit Pandemonium, let alone to play their skills. Mastery takes all forms, indeed. Needless to say, our plan worked to perfection, in no small part thanks to you. Famous's power was more than enough to complete the internment. Spellcasting was never my strong suit, but that almost made me feel like a proper Magus. Truly? Having seen your abilities firsthand in your fight with Desiree, I beg to disagree. Shackles is one exception. This only because I've been forced to practice it since I was but a small child. Our magics leave me feeling completely out. Other magics leave me feeling completely out of my depth. Regardless, it seems luck is on my side to guide me to you. We may prove the impossible possible after all. After witnessing the hippocampus' capabilities, I should not blame you for wishing to avoid engaging further creations in the place of their choosing. Alas, I doubt we will have the luxury. Good, but I think I make a cut here. End this episode and we continue this another time. Until next time then, I'm Mace and don't get lost.